What's going on, y'all? What's going on? Come on in. Come on in. It's your girl, Victoria J. Welcome, one and all to 12th Street Talk Back, where transparency is our love language. I am your host, Victoria J, back in the building once again, y'all, to do my solo episode. Your girl thought it was time to just get back on the mic and, share a few of her thoughts, a few of her opinions. And I've been missing this part of the podcast world. For those of you that are new to the show, we are not new to this. We are true to this. We've been around for a little bit now. And those of you that have been rocking with me from day one, I want to say, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining me over on my YouTube channel. 12th Street Talk Back presents Morning Inspirations, 30-minute uplift on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You guys have really been holding me down, with the transition of the show going to Morning Inspirations. And I am having a ball, y'all. I am having such a great time trying to get the YouTube media channel to grow. We've had some growth. We went from somewhere like maybe I want to say 26, 27 people to now we're at a cool 55. And, it's trucking right along with everything. Like everything takes time to grow. We went through this when we first started the show. We went through this when we started the 12th Street Talk Back Facebook and Instagram page, and it's still, trucking right along. We haven't quite hit 1,000 followers on Instagram, but we're a little bit over 1,100 on our 12th Street Talk Back Facebook page. So, like I said, in everything, it takes time. So my 55 followers on the YouTube media channel, I thank you. Thank you so much for just hopping on the bandwagon. Our Spotify hosting platform is chucking right along, guys. You guys have been holding me down over there. We didn't miss a beat. We had a few fall off because a few people like this part of the show where I did my solos or where I had guests like the Queen's Table Talk and we chopped it up. And, I've been pondering doing this, popping back up here and there. I know for most of us in the podcast world, Spotify released a little over a month ago or a little less than a month ago that they won't be letting us record over there. I wasn't doing it anyway. I think I stopped recording on Spotify for about a year ago, but I've just been using them as my uploading platform, my hosting platform. And when they did that, guys, they also added a feature where you could have one or more podcasts. You could upload one or more podcasts over there. So I'm playing around with the idea of doing the Morning Inspirations presented by 12th Street Talk Back, and that will be its own brand. And then I'm playing around with this idea, 12th Street Talk Back, my solo episodes and, maybe a guest here and there, but I don't want to get and dip back into adding more work to my plate with the Morning Inspirations presented by 12th Street Talk Back. We do have guests on Fridays. Freedom Fridays and Friends merged with Morning Inspiration. And on Fridays, I give my guests an opportunity to tell their testimonies, tell their stories, or even entrepreneurs come on and be able to talk about their brand. Or here lately, it's been more authors. I've been telling all my guests, every guest that I've had on thus far, with the exception of maybe one, is an author. So any any way that I can get the community together, I am all for that, guys. I am all for it. But your girl have been moving right along. Yes, 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 yes. I have been pouring into myself greatly. God is number one in my life, and just being able to get up and read His Word, and also put it on the YouTube media channel, 12th Street Talk Back, and then have it uploaded to audio and wherever you listen, whether it be Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio. I looked up. We're on TuneIn now, iTunes, just wherever you can get your podcast, Pod Bay, Pod Chasers. We're on there, guys. Just look up 12th Street Talk Back. Google me. You can also listen to it for free over on our 12thstreettalkback.com website. All you got to do is put in 12thstreettalkback.com. You can listen over there for free. You can rate the show on any of the platforms. So, to my new followers, guys, don't forget to follow us on one of your listening platforms: Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Rate the show 5-star ratings, as well as I haven't been back since we joined a network. We are part of Unfiltered Studios Network. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Unfiltered Studios, for having 12th Street Talk Back. It's some amazing podcasters over there with some amazing shows. You guys can Google Unfiltered Studios and it'll pop up everybody that's under that umbrella. And as well as listen to my show, you can listen to some of these amazing podcasts bringing you different information, anywhere from news, music, movies, 1 minute stupid minute history. I love, love, love that. I learned something new every day with Keb. Finding Your Way with the Beeb. My twin, my Virgo twin, is over there. Chronicles of a Virgo, the guru, the goat of mental health. So, guys, head on over. We just got some amazing content creators over there. Petals of Support, Hippo Wellness. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Nailed it. It just goes on and on, guys. So, shots out to my new Unfiltered Studios network. I thank you for holding a girl down, holding a sister down, and let me continue to be me. And that's what it's all about. It's all about being us, living our best life. Speaking of which, that's why I jumped on the mic today. I had a lot to say. There's a lot been going on since the new year, since I transitioned my show to just Morning Inspirations Bible study. And I kind of was up in the air about whether I wanted to talk about some of that stuff or not. And I've decided that why not? But we're going to put a spin on it. We're going to talk about it the way that it is and the form that it is out there in the universe right now. But then we're going to talk about it, what the Bible says about it. I'm going to give my opinion about that. So that's the reason for the pop-up today, and plus I was missing this side. Sometimes when you're live all the time and you're, just out there live, you kind of want to take a break. This is my relaxed, chill out time. And this is where I can come in my room, shut the door, light a few candles, and just go for mine. Close my eyes and get my thoughts out. This is how I used to do it before I went live. And I was missing this part of it. I ain't gonna lie, guys. I was missing this part of it. And you guys know I love to talk. So we're going to jump into a little bit of everything today. I think I'll be all over the place today, but I think it'll come full circle. I'm going to talk about a little bit of anxiety that I've been having, a little bit of fear about the unknown. I'm going to talk about some of the celebrities and how they, in our neck of the woods, are leaders in the Christian world and what you should and should not allow. How much are we really going to take? How much are we really going to take before we say, you know what? Some things is just drawing the line. So we're going to jump into this. We're going to jump into our quick break with BetterHelp. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this podcast. And we'll be right back to jump into that in just a sec. What's up, guys? It's your girl, Victoria J from 12th Street Talk Back, here to tell you about my new friends and partners, BetterHelp. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this podcast. Guys, did you know that BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and it is 100% online? That's right. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, all you need to do is answer a few questions about your needs and your preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then sit back, relax, because you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable via text, chat, video call. You can even schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. But if your therapist is not the right fit for you for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional cost. With BetterHelp, you get the same quality and professionalism that you can expect from an in office visit, but with a therapist that is custom picked for you. More scheduling, better flexibility, and the best part of all, at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com slash 12th Street. That's better, HELP.com slash 12th Street. I have also linked it in the description below. Head on over to BetterHelp right now today. Get 10% off your first month with code betterhelp.com slash 12th Street and tell them Victoria J sent you. All right, guys, let's jump right in to what's on your girl's mind today. So I was sitting here and as always, I'm always chopping it up with somebody, whether it be my seasoned aunt, whether it's my bestie, whether it's someone in the podcast world, or one of my sisters or what have you. And we're always talking about things that is on our mind, things that's going on in the community, things that's going on in the world. And as you get older, you start to notice some of the things that your parents used to talk about when you were in your teens and 20s. You know, life, life, and how the world changes. So, for your girl, as I embark on 53 this coming August, I've also, in the last 3 years, embarked on a lot of weight gain. 3 years ago, maybe four now, right during the pandemic in 2020, I had not one, not two, but three back surgeries. And it has been a roller coaster ride with my weight. So I've been picking up some new tips and tricks from friends and family on my eating habits. And I'm starting to work on that part of me, the physical part of me. just trying to get some of the weight off for my 4 foot frame and the pounds that I have gained, and just worried, stressing about things such as strokes, heart attacks, cancer, those things running through my mind now that I'm a woman of a certain stature. So I decided, to try something different, try a calorie diet, and also talk to my physician about getting some of the weight off and getting professional help. But as I embarked on that as well, having multiple conversations with different people, we started to talk about our spiritual walk. As I said earlier, I do the morning inspirations on our YouTube media channel, Morning Inspirations, 30-minute uplift, because I'm working on feeding my soul, feeding my spirit. And with the things that's going on in the world right now, I think as well as our health, as well as our mental health, we need to be working on feeding our spirit as well. We got so many things at our fingertips. So many things. We can look it up by Alexa. We can look it up by Googling it. We even got AI out there just doing the most. And we also are still in a position where tension is still rising. I don't think it ever came off of that high that it was on during the pandemic. In fact, my personal opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that it has gotten multiplied by 3. In my neck of the woods, it's been so much going on. It's been so many killings out of anger, shooting people for a parking spot or shooting people at the gas station, road rage. It's just been a mess. And I imagine we're not the only state that's going through these high highs. And as we get into the summer brings even more aggravation. The heat, working, grocery prices are astronomical. And I can imagine that the levels of tension in the households can be a little bit draining. It can be taxing. And what do you do about that? You want to work on not only your mental health, but you also want to work on the spiritual side of you. And I thank God that He's put me in a position in my 40s where I started to think about my walk with Christ and take it a little bit more seriously. However, as well as the tension that has multiplied by 3, that since the pandemic, we also had since 2024 come in, we've had some leaders with shadows of doubt cast on them for some of their actions, behaviors, or even just guilty by association, which does not make us particularly feel good as people. When you're following Christian leaders and you are expecting a certain behavior and, they're supposed to be your God. Now, for all you Bible scholars out there, give me a minute to explain what I'm saying, because I often say it in morning inspirations. We are not to fashion ourselves after people. We are to fashion ourselves after the Word. The Bible is the roadmap to life. You follow it, you go straight, and you turn right, as my seasoned grandmother would say, my late seasoned grandmother, which was a pastor. And she never condemned us for not being and walking in the will of God. But she also taught us that if we read it in the Bible, try to straighten it up the best we can. She wasn't one of those that thumped you over the head with the Bible. Neither was my mother. And my mother was a Christian. She let you go your own way, and she prayed for you, which is what we're supposed to be doing in the Christian community. which leads me into some of the celebrities that are in the ministry that has some shadow casted on them, as well as those leaders. I would also say, as well as role models for our children, for people in my age group that we grew up looking up to. They have not been cast in such a great light as 2024 has come along. You got the Puff Daddy scandal going on right now with the flicker of TD Jakes and a bunch of other people. You got the William Murphy thing that went on in the new year with the whole savings of 150 souls by having and playing surf and swag music in the church on New Year's Eve. You got the Moniques and the Cat Williams of the world being on the Shannon Sharp show and getting over 1 million plus views. And you got the world, the celebrity world, and you got us regular folk saying 2024 is going to be the year with a lot of people that we look up to, our peers, our leaders of expulsion. Now, I can't say whether that's true or not, but it's looking that way. I don't have a crystal ball and I am not a prophet, but it's looking that way. And they called it at the end of 2023. What I wanted to talk about with that, with your spiritual walk, hey, let's not fashion ourselves after people. And I know that's hard to do because some of us grew up in the churches that we're still going to today. And we look up to those people. We go out of our way to, be a great example in the church because they're being a great example for us. And it's hard to do as people because we're still fighting off that flesh. We're still conditioning our mind. And for most of us, that doesn't really, we kind of dabble, we teeter on the fence of being a Christian or whatever spiritual guide that we have in our life. And then we have some that don't teeter on the fence at all. It's just life is what it is. But those that are teetering on the line of Christianity or even walking the walk, I just wanted to remind you that as well as your health, as well as your mental health, your spiritual life has to be right. And you can start small. And it definitely does not start by these examples. However, we are to pray for those people. My Bible tells me that we're to cover their sins with prayer. We're not supposed to mock them. We're not supposed to judge them. We're not even supposed to be sitting and associating ourselves with the wicked ones. My Bible tells me, and as I said, it's a guide. My Bible tells me not to run swiftly to trouble, but run from the people that say, come join me. Let's put our plunder, our goods together. And you can find that over in Psalms and Proverbs, as well as, I'm sure, a lot of other places. But if you read Psalms 1 and 2, Proverbs 1 and 2, you'll find that over there. So what am I saying, guys? Spiritually, don't get discouraged of the whole scandal, alleged scandal, that it appears that, maybe TD has gotten caught doing some things or saying some things or participating in some things. I'm not going to say yay and nay. I'm going to say allegedly. You make up your own mind on how you feel about that. But my point in bringing that up is we're not to fashion ourselves after people. And I know this is like the third or fourth time that I said it. But But my Bible tells me to fashion myself after the word. So if I'm looking to my word to guide me throughout my life and communing with God, making God a priority, praying, fasting, going to church, even spending time in God's nature, on a nature walk and collecting my thoughts. I don't have time to get involved in what's going on all over the internet, the social media platforms, all in the news. And I know it's hard to do because everywhere you turn around, you got people like myself, podcasters, newscasters, you got YouTubers. Everybody wants the story, they want the scoop. But if you're walking with Christ, my Bible tells me to cover your brothers and sisters and cover their sins with prayer. With prayer. Pray for that fallen soldier, that fallen son, daughter, wife, husband. But let's not add to the judgment pool. Let's let God do the judging. And I think we've gotten away from that. I hear tell, I have not heard it in the national news, but some of the parishioners from the church, the mega church, their feathers are ruffled. And from what I hear in the speculation, allegedly, they're angry and words are being tossed out there. Harmful words, harmful acts are being threatened. What I say about that, as a Christian, guys, sometimes we have to be reminded that the Bible says in Proverbs, be angry, but sin not. He never said that we couldn't be angry. He never said that we couldn't be upset. But when you start with the action, when you start dousing the fire with more gasoline, you yourself partake in that secondhand smoke. Stay away from the fire. Stay away from sitting in the seat where you feel like it's okay for you to pass judgment, but you don't have the inside scoop. We live in a world right now where people can doctor things. Not saying that that's the case, because I clearly seen some of the footage on all of this stuff. But I'm saying from a Christian point of view and just a human being, if you have a relationship with Christ, don't add to the fire. Actually, pray and cover their sins. I remember not too long ago, it was last summer as a matter of fact, at my church. And where I live at in the state of North Carolina, my church would be considered a major church, a mega church. It is $1 million church. And the assistant pastor said, what we are to do as people is if your friend or your family member is going through something, going through some changes, and perhaps they brought it on themselves, or perhaps it just was laid at their front door, as a friend, as a believer, we are to cover them, support them, be there for them until they make it through the fire. And then we can give them our opinion, especially if they're close to us, on how it made us feel. Because when we're standing there and someone is in the need of our support, whether it be emotionally, physically, or financially, if you truly love that person, or you have the love in your heart, that agape love like Christ had for us when he died on that cross for all of our sins, I can't imagine not wanting to have someone to go through the fire with you. I can't imagine someone telling me to leave my husband or my wife because it got a little bit too thick. The Bible tells us, for better or worse, for sickness and in health. And although we as spectators may not quite understand that person's situation, we as spectators didn't spend 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, some 50 years with that same person through the good, the bad, and the indifferent. But us as believers, us as Christians, when are we going to be in the position to say enough is enough? I'm going to do exactly what my Bible tells me to do. I may not like it. It may anger me. It may have pissed me off that you could put yourself in this predicament. But I'm still going to cover you with prayer. My Bible tells me that God is the only one that can be the judge and the jury. Now, we live in a world where you do have actual judges and we have actual juries. But let's let that specific entity decide that if charges are going to be brought on any of this stuff. I don't care whether it was the bishop. I don't care if it was the famous rap guy. And I'm trying to refrain from saying names. I know who I'm talking about and what I'm talking about. But, I don't want them kind of problems because I ain't got no money. You can't come over here trying to sue your girl. But I just wanted to explain that from a biblical point of view. And then I want to move on to the gospel singer that saved 150 souls in his church. And I did, however, look at a couple of his interviews as well as I briefly looked at the video. What I could say about that. In his interview, he said he was coming from a place of Acts 3. Now, in Acts 3, for my Bible scholars, you guys already know that's where Peter and Simon, they go to the temple, they pray at a certain hour, and there was a man there that had been there sitting at the temple of the porch of the beautiful gate. And he had been crippled since he was born. And he was looking for a handout like he normally was. And, Peter says to him, silver and gold I don't have, but what I do have, I give to you in the name of Jesus Christ. Get up and walk. And he reached down and helped him. My Bible tells me he gave him his right hand. Although I do not agree with the secular music being played in church. I think there's another way to do it. He says he was coming from a point of view of we meet people where they're at. So playing the surf and swag music was him trying to meet the young people where they're at. I have two things to say about that. A, it's not just all about the young people. And I had to find that out a year or so ago. When I first started my podcast, I was on fire with my young community and the things that they were doing towards one another, as well as the blatant disrespect for the parent. But as I moved on and had different conversations with people I've never, ever saw in my life in this podcasting world, it has given me a different view on some of my views, some of my stiff-neck, hard-headedness. And sometimes, I'm not even going to say sometimes, I'm not even going to soften the blow. Us seasoned people, it starts with us. It starts with us leading by examples. And us seasoned people, we need to lead by example. We don't need to be focused so much on just the young community. Now, don't get me wrong. The young community is a great big, important piece of the pie. And we want them to better themselves. We want them to get their education. We want them to stop dying. We don't want them to get in jams where police brutality and all that other stuff, gangs and, getting pregnant before they turn 18 and not being able to fulfill their life. But us seasoned people, some of us still think that we are young in our teens, in our 20s. When they came out with that thing, the 30 is the new 20, the 40 is the new 30, and the 50 is the new 40. Yeah, it was a good kiki. It's a good ha-ha. And if you're exercising, eating right, your mentality, your mental is halfway there or 80% there, and you're getting yourself spiritually there or are spiritually there, then I can see where you can get a good, I'm looking good. I'm not looking 50. I'm looking like I'm 30 or 40. I know what I want my future to look like. I'm stashing away money. I got some stocks and, I've got a little nest egg saved up for my children for college, rainy day fund. In a world where that's hard to do right now, I can see you cutting a little kiki saying, hey, I'm 30, but it's the new 20. But when you don't have everything together, and I'm not saying you got to have everything together in all aspects of your life because that takes time. But as long as you're working on one piece of the puzzle and not trying to be your children's bestie, but actually leading by examples, then we wouldn't have the surf and swag in the church. Now I got where he was trying to go. Meet them where they're at. My number 2 thing about that is it is so much gospel rap out there. I just got introduced to it maybe a week ago. And that's what brought this thought to mind. Hubby and I was riding down the street. He was taking me grocery shopping because I can't do without him. And he was playing this gospel station in our area. And I've been, I always listen to gospel. I always listen to that station, but I never listened after 6 p.m. And that's when the young DJ came on. And everything he played sounded like rap music. And it had the hardcore bumpity bump beat, reminded me of my DMX, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Jay-Z days, Biggie days. And I immediately looked at him and I said, what in the world are you playing? That's just bothering my spirit. He said, that's gospel rap. And sure enough, when I looked at the station, it was still on the same station and it was gospel rap. He said, you have to listen to the lyrics. But I couldn't get past the thumpity thump to hear the lyrics because it was more muffled. Probably like sometimes I sound when I'm on the mic and don't get it just right. But I said all that to say, this particular gospel artist turned bishop, minister, whatever he calls himself, he could have kept himself out of the line of fire had he just played some of the new school gospel rap. Maybe it wouldn't have been taken so hard. But my personal opinion is, even though he said he did not do it to get attention, my personal opinion is that maybe he did. Because it's not like you're not unfamiliar with gospel, with records. That's where you started from. So sure enough, when you was out there playing your surf and swag, walking it out, you could have walked it out to one of the gospel rap songs. That if I was still in the world like that and cutting the rug at the club, probably be dancing and dropping it like it's hot and shaking a tail feather. I mean, let's just be real. It's about honesty here. As far as the other one, the other bishop, there is such things as your bishop's office, your chambers, just like a judge has. When you are in a situation where you know you are associating with someone that has not quite given their self to the Lord, their whole persona oozes, I'm not ready. Don't get me wrong. It's not okay to shun anybody, whether they're a Christian or not. In fact, we're supposed to be telling our testimony. We're supposed to be ministering to them. But there is a time and a place to do that. And when you put yourself in certain places at certain times, you're guilty by association. My Bible does tell me to shake off the dust if they don't receive you. So I'm only going to ask you a couple times. And I may not even ask you. I'm at that point in my life, I'm never going to force what I believe on someone else. But if they open the door, if they come to me and ask me, I can tell them my testimony. I can tell them what I believe that God has done for me. I can tell them what Jesus died on the cross and done. And I can give them something to think about. Because my Bible does tell me to operate out of love. Don't beat nobody over the head. It says, in fact, it says, when you're giving your testimony to someone, don't do it in oppression. To make, oh, you got to do this, and you know you're going to hell, and blah, 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 blah. But it says do it out of love. Give them something to think about. But at the end of the day, it's their choice. But when you're in a leadership position that high, there's also examples in the Bible where they had witnesses. Witnesses from the Old Testament to the New Testament. And we all know that in the Christian community over the years, there have been scandals, whether it was a woman and a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or whatever, woman and children, men and children. Even in our school systems, there has been some inappropriate behavior. I would think that if you have a discerning spirit, and you should if you're in a leadership position, when you are not walking and talking the walk that you're preaching, and you find yourself in your community being torn to pieces because you're guilty by association, there is a problem with that. That is a problem with that. And you make it look bad for the rest of us that truly, truly, truly want to help people read the Bible, help people see what Jesus did, help people understand the Old Testament and what obedience and faith looks like, and the love of God look like. You make it very hard. Us seasoned people, some of us make it very hard for us to convince other seasoned people, as well as our younger community. My Bible tells me that God loves everyone, so it is not my job to sit and judge. I don't need no help from me. Jesus don't need no help from me. But I do know that Jesus sits on the right side of his Father and makes intercessions on my behalf. But he don't need no help from me judging nobody and telling nobody what a sin is. But what he needs me to do is stay seated in the position that he put me in and talk to them with love about what he said is a sin and what's obedience look like. But also, and this is the most important part, doing it out of love, doing it with love, loving that person no matter what they look like, no matter what the circumstance is. I think that a lot of us leaders need to get ourselves back in line so that we can lead by example and show the Christian community that agape love that Jesus Christ showed us with no conditions. He didn't have any conditions on going up to the cross. He didn't have to make up his mind. He didn't have to waver the odds. He knew what he came to do because he said, only do the things I see my Father do. He came to finish something that Noah didn't finish. Not Noah, Adam. Adam didn't finish. And he did it very well, resisting the same things, the temptations that we resist today. But doing fasting, and I want to touch on that a little bit too. Fasting is not to fast to say, God, you know what? I'm believing you for this house, so I'm going to fast for 5 or 6 days. Fasting is to kill that flesh, that you want such a relationship with your Heavenly Father. You want that friendship. You know that you sit at the table of a king. That whatever you got to do to be obedient to the guidelines that he left behind for us in his word, you're going to try to break those habits that the flesh has been accustomed to for how many ever years you've been walking this earth. And it's not going to happen overnight. It may take you a lifetime. You'll be 120 years old still trying to break some habits. I can guarantee you that. God promised us 120 years. It's us that shorten the time because we don't want to eat healthy like myself. Our mentality is all over the place. Our mental health is driving us to be depressed, stressed, anxiety. The foods, the stuff they're putting in the foods, and we're consuming it because it's quick, it's fast, it's microwavable. And we're not feeding our spirit. We can get all the books in the world. And don't get me wrong, I love me a good book and I love a good author. In fact, I'm still working on mine. But here's the thing. The Bible is the best book that I know. And then it can help you diet. It can help you with your mentality. It can help you with your spiritual walk. But again, it's your choice of what literature you choose to pick up to feed your soul. Just like it's your choice what you pick up to put in your mouth, whether you want to be healthy or not healthy. And I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do because, as my mother used to say, you got to clean up around your own doorstep before you come and clean up around somebody else. And for those of you that if that's too old school for you, just like I always say, don't be going throwing no rocks in my glass house. Because yours just 1 second from pulling the plug and crumbling too. And I take that for myself. Anything that I say, I take it for myself. A while back, my seasoned aunt said that she's been serving God for 56 years. My grandmother was a preacher. And she said, your grandmother used to always tell me, look at walking this Christian walk like a plate of food. You eat what you can. You shove the rest to the side of the plate. Don't throw it away because you might need it. But what's for you is for you. And that's the same way in church when you're listening to your minister, your reverend, your bishop, your evangelist. If it applies to you, you eat it, you meditate on it, you do what you have to do to change or try to change your behavior. But don't throw the rest of the sermon away because someday you might need it. With that being said, I've had people asking me my feelings on all three of these situations, and even with the celebrity, the well-known celebrity that finds himself in some hot water. What I can say about him is my Bible tells me I'll never see the righteous forsaken. And for the rich, and I'm not saying all, this is their heaven. And when you walk around in human form and think that just because you have money and you've obtained some type of power that you can walk over top of people no matter how big or how small, what goes around comes around. And it's just your turn. And we all have turns. Something that you did, I don't care whether you was 14, 24, or 34. Something that you did that affected someone else, that hurt someone else, whether you said it or whether it was an act. We all have a turn. Even with our children, the Bible says, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. We got out of the habit of chastising our children because society said that. My age group said that. But now, most of our children are not living to see the age 18, let alone their 20s. Because we spared the rod and we let society dictate what went on in our homes. And now we're at a point in society where our teachers don't even want the job anymore because they're starting as small as 7, 8, and 9 years old, talking back, blaspheming the teacher. And, I just had one of my family members start substituting. And the stories that I have heard from between 3rd and 5th grade, not to mention the stories I've heard from some of my podcast community that is out there teaching. Some of them been great, some of them haven't been, and some of them say, the kids are just misunderstood. But at the end of the day, I stand firmly on it starts in the household. And I think what happened was we took a handful of cases, and I won't even make it that small. We took a big bundle of cases where indeed, in fact, those parents was not ready to be parents. And they may have been abusing their children. They may have been drug addicts because the opioid pandemic is through the roof. But we applied that to every parent in America. And it got to the point where our parents, our teachers are throwing up their hands. You can't defend yourself even as a teacher. If you got this big old 13, 14-year-old person that's bigger and stronger than you, haul off and smack the mess out of you. You can't make them do their work if they don't want to. And cell phones has got ridiculous. And don't get me wrong. My children came up in the era, and I came up in the era where cell phones was not permitted in the school. And if you had them in the school, they better be in your locker. Now they, a group, and I think maybe all of us really especially with the killings and the mass shootings. So I understand it from both sides, but you know, we feel like my kid need to have his cell phone just in case it is an emergency. I agree 100%. But also I believe that they should be put away while you're in class. And I think that's something that we need to start advocating for in our different states. Even if you have to have personalized lockers in the classroom like you have in the gym, put your cell phone in the locker. In the locker while you're in class so it's not a distraction. And maybe have the teacher have one openly and ready available for, an emergency such as the alarm being sounded that there's a crazy person going through the school killing and shooting people and you need to evacuate. But something, and that's just an example, and a lot of you may not agree with me, and it is what it is. That's another thing that I found out in this last year. You can't please everybody. If I say this and agree with you, then I'm the coolest person in the world. But if I say something that you don't agree with, and especially with it being Christianity, I'm trying to refrain from saying religion because religion has gotten put in so many boxes. It's either you believe in Jesus Christ, the Lord Savior, or you don't. For me, that's my personal opinion. But there is something that we can do. But then again, the other part of me feels like the narrative, the situation has gone on so long that it's too far gone to even fix it. Our nation does need a healing. But only Jesus can do that. Only God can do that. Because a lot of things we let go way, way too far. And look where we are today. And this is just my personal opinion. All of this is alleged with the people that I was talking about, the ones that I tried to call no names. But I think if we start back in our homes, and then that's even a push. That's even a push. Because, some of these kids got a mindset now where I'm just going to call the police on you. And they start stuff that don't even need to be started simply because they have a mind that I ain't going to let you tell me what to do. And it starts young. It starts in their preteens. But then you have a whole group of adults, seasoned people that just did not or were not ready to be parents, but ended up parents anyway. And it's a mess out here. But from my Christian point of view, if I could say anything at all, I would say this. Cover your families. Pray for your friends, your family, that stranger, your leaders. Pray for the leadership. My Bible tells me that. Pray for the people in leadership positions. And sometimes we don't know where God's going with a situation. If you go back and read the Old Testament, it got worse for the Israelites before it got better. They had to go on the run. But that was so that God could show himself mighty. He kept hardening Pharaoh's heart. He kept making him angry and more, I'm God. I'm not releasing these people. He kept. But when the tables turned, God showed himself mighty on his people's behalf. The same thing he does for us on a daily basis. His grace and mercy is what gets us through the day, guys. It really is. He breathes his breath in our body every day. We got working limbs, eyesight to see, ears to hear, and maybe not all of us. Maybe not all of us have moving limbs right now. Maybe not all of us have an eyesight, but you're still breathing a breath. And think that should count for something. That's just my personal opinion. But I think, when are we going to say enough is enough and we draw the line as Christians? And not just as Christians. Scratch that. My people, when are we going to draw a line in our communities and say enough is enough? Because I really believe when the 12 tribes was made in the Old Testament, that was our blueprint for our families, to protect our family names. That's our tribe, man. And although we may not have agreed with our great-grands, our grandparents, our mothers, our fathers, I think some of us seasoned people got enough instilled in us where we're seeing everything come full circle. And there's nothing wrong with sprinkling a little additive on that already terrific tasting meal. So that's where our young generation coming in, showing us things new, positive. But I don't think that all of it we got to adapt to. We have to find a way to draw the line. And some of you might say, you know what, Victoria J., you don't even know what you're talking about. But trust me, I do in more ways than one. I have 3 young adults. And I spent many a nights worrying, crying, angry, mad at the world because they wasn't doing it my way. And finally found peace of mind. And I had to ask myself, what were you doing in your 20s? What were you doing in your 30s? It's called growing pains. But what was your mother doing for you? She was praying for you while you was wilding. So let them young adults go on and be young adults if you know you've raised them the best way you know how. But if they're in their preteens right now and you're a grandparent or even a parent, it's not too late to try to reel them back in. I'm seeing too many parents in our community just throwing up their hands and saying whatever. And I'm seeing too many young people 6 feet under way before their time. Strung out way before their time. And the devil is always on his job. Satan is always on his job. He's on his job 24/7. And if we stayed on our job, which is prayer, even if it's a quick prayer, every day, then we can put a shield. We can ask God to put a covering around our children when they're out of our sight. But it also starts at home, the same way our parents did us. You spare the rod, you spoil the child. So I'm going to wrap this up in saying, seasoned people, don't be too hard on yourself. If you followed a leader in your Christian community that you truly, truly believed in an act or situation or guilty by association, got you to the point where you're just done with church. I can sit at home on my couch. The Bible tells us fellowship under one roof. Pray, put a covering over that person. The Bible didn't say you couldn't be angry. But he said, be angry, but sin not. If you find yourself, then you're not in the Christian community, but you know that you have a relationship with God. You just haven't turned that page to say, you know what? I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to go straight and turn right. Still put that hedge of protection over your community, your children, your leaders, people in leadership position. And let's not be the first one to cast the first stone. Just like they did with the lady in the Bible that they caught in the act committing adultery. Jesus didn't condemn her. But what he did is he bent down and ignored everybody in that circle and started writing. And he said, "Who here without sin cast the first stone?" And when he looked up, the adulteress was the only one still standing there. And he asked her, "Where are your accusers?" And he just said, "Go and sin no more." So if our Heavenly Father didn't put himself in a position where he was going to judge, who are we? And stay away from foolish conversations. This is to my Christian community. We don't have to debate about stuff. You don't have to tell anybody what you believe and what you don't believe, and this is right and this is wrong. Our Bible tells us stay away from foolish conversations. You would never, ever get someone on my show to bait me into arguing with them about the word. Because I'm not going to give you that 15 minutes of fame. You believe what you believe. I believe what I believe. And we ain't even got to meet in the middle. And I'm going to still love you anyway. So, protect our loved ones. Protect our children. Let's help our teachers stop quitting them, walking away from their jobs because we can't do what needs to be done in our homes. And any authorities that's listening out there that want to chime in, I know your guys' jobs is difficult as well. I've talked to some officers that they can't do no more than we can with a minor sometimes. In certain situations, it's a lot that has to be done. You got to catch them red-handed before they can feel the sting of the law sometimes. And I know. I've been through something with some teenagers for the last couple of years. And it's pretty much you got to videotape. You got to have all your I's and T's crossed. But the thing about it is, they know it. The Bible does say that the world will be weaker but wiser. They're wiser in their thought. But being able to man up and handle certain situations, they ain't built like us, man. Just like we wasn't built like our parents and so on and so on. I couldn't have survived slavery. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Whether they put me in the kitchen or not, I couldn't survive that. But someone paved the way for us to be where we're at. And I'm going to wrap it up because we went over an hour. But listen, guys, this election is important. It is important. And whether you're up in the air about who you're going to vote for, or even if you're going to vote it out again, someone paved the way for us to have that opportunity. So at least try. Grab you a young person that's 18 and take them to the polls with you. I know a lot of us, especially in the Black and brown communities, we want to say that it's not going to make a difference, but it does, man. And not just in the primary. Get into your community. I'm still not giving up on hope. I'll still be talking about community to the day that I take my last breath. Okay. So, peace and blessings to you all. I hope you enjoyed this solo episode on this beautiful, beautiful Friday afternoon. I'll be coming back at you guys April the 19th with a special guest in the house. Entrepreneur by day and night. As well as on the 26th, we got a great, awesome speaker coming. I've taken the last couple weeks off, but I felt like playing today. I felt like getting on the mic today. You never know. But definitely Morning Inspirations presented by 12th Street Talk Back will return on April the 17th. We'll have our special guest on April the 19th, and we'll will be going into our season 6. Season 5 was long. I stopped counting after a while. I stopped counting after a while. After we hit our 300 episodes, I stopped counting by season. I don't know if I'm going to pick that up anymore or not. We just going to go with it. I'll tell you guys what episode we're in the next time I do solo. And be looking out for some things from your girl. So your girl got some things on the rise, some big things on the rise that's coming up. And don't forget to check us out on our listening platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon. 5-star ratings. Please, please, please. Come follow your girl on one of the platforms. Follow us on YouTube. Let's get 12th Street Talk back out there in North Carolina and other states, other countries. We got a great segue in about 34 countries. And although it is not a consistent listening, we still got other countries under our belt. But North Carolina is my home. This is my community. So if you're from North Carolina, tell a friend, tell a friend, and tell a friend, because we're going to be in this community for a while. We're going to be rolling up our sleeves and digging in here and helping everybody from the young to the seniors. Peace and blessings to you. If you can't do anything else, give somebody a kind word, but a hot meal goes a long, long way.
Unlock a new era in podcasting with Unfiltered Studios. Ready to break free from the ordinary? Dive into a world where authenticity meets innovation. Our network isn't just about podcasts, it's a revolution. From nostalgia to movies, sports to self-improvement, find your favorite podcast in an array of diverse shows, only at Unfiltered Studios. Join the movement. Subscribe to Unfiltered Studios today and join the podcasting revolution. Unfiltered Studios, where every voice finds its place. Visit unfpod.com today to find your favorite show.
Unfiltered Studios. We'll help you press record.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.